In comparison to Knives Out, I think Knives Out is the better one. It's like stronger narrative. It's just got a better sense of where to like place sort of beats and reveals and how to do all that kind of stuff. But I think Glass Onion is actually just more fun because it can be sillier with it, and it can have like ridiculous characters, and they can have silly accents and do all sorts of weird nonsense. So yeah, this one's always sort of great to just sit and enjoy.
It's easy to watch. It's quite long, but it's super easy to watch. It just barrels along, and it's easy to recommend.
Hello everyone. Joining Flixwatcher today, we have Paul.
Hello.
We have Emma.
Hi.
And we have Kobe.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
Thank you as always to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes that you can hear right now. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for editing. Please do remember to head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts to give us a 5-star rating and a glowing review. If you want to join the conversation with us, go to Twitter. I'm not going to say the alternative name there. We are at FlixWatcherPod or Instagram at FlixWatcher.
Hello film fans, welcome to Flixwatcher Podcast. Our guests today are Emma and Paul. Over to you please, Emma, to tell the listeners a little bit more about who you are and what you do, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Emma, that's Paul, and we are from Yearbook Podcast. Or sorry, we're from the Yearbook Committee Podcast. I've gotten our own name wrong. So we talk about teen movies, and what we do every episode is we pick a theme, and then we pick 3 movies that we think fit that theme. And it varies between watching the very, very good and the very, 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 very bad. But they always fit the theme, so that's always good.
Can you give us an example of a classic theme from your point of view?
We're in Supernatural season right now, so we did a vampire 2-parter. So we did, the first episode was The Lost Boys, Near Dark, and Once Bitten.
What? So hold on, there's no original Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
It's only movies.
No, the film.
Oh,
yeah.
We did that.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
We did that in cheerleader episode.
Yeah. We were clearly too keen to get Buffy in early, so we just shoehorned her in there.
So that's a rule then, you can only have one film once?
Yeah, we don't do repeats.
Yeah.
Do you feel you made the best use of that, using it in a cheerleader movie? Or there's... No.
I mean, well, no, I think we did, because that episode, there are 3 movies where Bring It On.
Yeah.
A really, really dire one that I've erased from my brain.
Oh yeah, it was the one about male cheerleaders, which is, what was it, Fired Up?
Fired Up. Don't do it. It was dire.
Yeah, don't.
And Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So yeah, I feel like it was a good fit then.
Mm-hmm.
And we always come back to Buffy references, whether it's the film or the TV show. So she's not dead. She keeps getting brought back in her.
I was just going to say, I for one think there should be more vampire teen movies. There's not enough.
Yeah, and that was a surprising thing when we were putting together the second episode, because we needed to cover Twilight, and then we were clutching at straws, which you feel like you wouldn't have been, because in my head there are loads of teen vampire movies, but then when you sit down and try and find them, you're like, oh wait, there aren't.
You need to bring that one
really
back.
Yeah.
How many are there in the Twilight series? Isn't it like 5? So you can,
5. Yeah.
Which is
clearly not happy about that at all.
many.
Well, that was it. Like we both, when we did the episode, we covered because
all 5.
We covered all 5, but like as an overarching thing, we didn't sort of devote everything to it. But yeah, what a journey! What a journey!
Listeners, Emma is physically disappointed with herself and life in general.
I know. That way as well. I thought it's been a long time since it came out. Maybe I'll feel better about it now, because I was very much Team True Blood while everyone was going through their Twilight phase, and I did not feel better about it watching it later.
We're here today to talk about Glass Onion. Paul, this is your choice. Can you tell us first of all why you chose it? And then we'll go to the spoilers, to the synopsis.
I chose it because really 2 things. One, I love Rian Johnson. That man has not put a foot wrong for me. Fight me. And I really enjoy a murder mystery movie. They're always fun. Even not great ones are still kind of fun. So yeah, to pick this one up, yeah, it's a good shout.
And the timer starts now.
Glass Onion is about, well, we basically re-team with Southern Fried detective Benoit Blanc as he is hired, well, he's sort of shanghaied into going to a billionaire's getaway party where a fake murder mystery will take place where he is to help solve, except he actually wasn't invited, and in fact a real murder happens whilst he's there, so he has to help solve the mystery whilst finding out why he's there in the first place amongst smug rich people. What could go wrong?
Very nice.
Are they all smug and rich, or they're desperate? Well, they are kind of rich, aren't they? But they're not like mega rich, are they?
There's an assistant there.
They're all smug.
Yeah, there's the assistant. She's not rich, and I guess maybe they're not all smug. They're all deluded. There's for sure one smug guy there, so naturally you get Edward Norton for that.
One of Helen's favourites. Emma, your thoughts on Glass Onion, and also let's touch on Knives Out because it's in the title, the Knives Out mystery. But
I really loved Knives Out. I think it, especially when you went in not knowing what it was at all. I loved Knives Out to bits. I think Glass Onion is a good follow-up, but it's a hard thing to follow. So I really enjoy it. I think it's really fun. It's not even that there are more unlikable characters, because I feel like all of the characters in Knives Out are pretty unlikable in some way, shape or form, maybe save for one or two. So I don't know why I'm not as attached to this as I am on Knives Out, but it's still really fun. And I would watch Daniel Craig read the phone book as Benoit Blanc. If that's Knives Out 3, I'm fine with that.
The Academy Award winning Knives Out 3.
Best script.
Andrew Anderson. Obviously, that's not Benoit Blanc's accent in any way, shape or form. Helen, Benoit Blanc.
I was a little bit lukewarm around Knives Out. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I didn't go crazy for everyone like this. But obviously, I think I, like many, sat down on December the 23rd in, 2022 to watch the premiere on Netflix of The Glass Onion. And yeah, I enjoyed it. There's a few things in particular. I don't know what it is, but I've got a real soft spot for Dave Bautista, and I really like him in this. I especially like his little pink jeans in this. There's something about that. I am a big fan of Edward Norton, and Edward Norton's Miles' outfit that is modelled on Tom Cruise in Magnolia in the kind of flashback eras is very excellent. It's kind of wild watching now a film that has moments of COVID in it. Would have liked a bit more Ethan Hawke. Like, he's just in it. He's just there, chilling. It's very funny, and there's some great lines. I think maybe Kate Hudson gets most of them. And yeah, and people really, 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 really went wild for Hugh Grant being Benoit Blanc's partner. That's kind of my notes, really. So yeah, I enjoy them. I don't think I'm like a mega fan, but yeah, I enjoy this. I like Janelle Monáe. I think she was good in this.
Oh yeah. If she read the phone book too, I would also be fine with that.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much like low-key in love with Janelle Monáe. I've seen her on stage a couple of times.
Don't be low-key about it. Like, there's no need.
She is a force.
Yeah. She is.
Love Knives Out. So, just behind the scenes, guys, as listeners, we initially we thought we were going to record Knives Out. I actually thought, because now this is brought onto Netflix, I thought all the Knives Out kind of franchise was going to be on here, but Knives Out, the first one, wasn't. So we settled for Glass Onion, and I say settled loosely, but you know, this is a great film. I really, really enjoyed it. I was just looking forward to watching Knives Out again because I've only seen that once in the cinema. This is now the third time for me seeing Glass Onion. I saw it in the cinema in that kind of 2-week period before it came to Netflix, and that was one of my favourite cinematic experiences that year. It was really good fun watching that with an audience. So that's going to lean into my small screen score later on. But this character they've created, and I'm saying they in terms of Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig and Benoit Blanc, is just magnificent. And I'm with you on reading the phone book. And I think I'm so looking forward to everything that they do. Hopefully they don't screw it up. I'm more interested in him as Benoit Blanc than I am in him as James Bond. It's such a distinctive, unique, interesting, funny, layered character, which is a badass, is sarky, but also massively, massively intelligent. And I think it's just, I don't know how they've done it, but I think it's great.
Has great swimwear.
Yeah, I was literally going to comment on that when he's just sort of walking through the pool, drinking one.
Drinking his hard kombucha. I think it's just a great character they've created. And like I said, mystery films they're either terrible or they're just like they're really not mind blowing, but you can't help but be engaged in them. You can't help but see, like, try and work out what happened. With Knives Out, I did work out who the bad guy was before it was revealed, but in this, I had no clue. I'm not going to say it, but yeah, I think it's fascinating, and I can't wait for more of these. But I'm also scared that they're going to drop the ball on it as well. So I'm here wringing my hands.
There's always that mild sort of trepidation when you've really enjoyed a movie and then they do a second one. You're like, oh, I don't know. Oh, actually, they did pretty well. And then they say they're going to do another one. You go, oh, God, like the fear just compounds and you just get more and more because you're like, don't. If there's maybe one thing, I mean, I have absolutely no problem with it. They kept his southern accent and I'm totally fine with it. I really just enjoyed the idea that they talked seriously about that they would do a series of movies and he would have a different accent in every movie. I thought it'd been really funny if like Southern Fried one and then he's just French. I don't know. And then he's, Brooklyn, whatever. It'd be great. But no, I think in comparison to Knives Out, I think Knives Out is the better one. It's like stronger narrative. It's just got a better sense of where to like place sort of beats and reveals and how to do all that kind of stuff. But I think Glass Onion is actually just more fun. Yeah. Because it knows how to have more, because it can be sillier with it, and it can like have like ridiculous characters, and they can have silly accents and do all sorts of weird nonsense. So yeah, this one's always sort of great to just sit and enjoy.
I think one way that I'll forgive this film, which is in a trope which I tend to kind of sigh when it happens, is when there's a twin that no one knew about.
Identical twin. How would they not know about that?
So yeah, in this world, there's two Janelle Monáes. What? I'm
like, there's a twin, but she's great. Andi and Helen were both great, and I don't remember. Maybe you guys can correct me. In the first Knives Out, did they go so deep into the flashback to like uncover what happened before? Because I felt that was a bit of a cop out to like show so much of what happened to actually Andi with her friends and stuff like that. I'm not sure they needed it as much to kind of drive the narrative. So they're my kind of two, like, could they have done it differently bits? Because they showed the swap of the cocktail like 3 times. Once when it happened, once when it fake happened, and then a revisiting of the initial time. I was like, they don't need that, do they? I'm sure.
I do think, though, I was going to say something different, but just on the glass thing, I think it does make your brain dance a bit, because they show you both, like, you kind of briefly forget which version you saw. So part of your head's going, no, he handed him it. And the other part's going, maybe he did put it down.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I didn't really mind that, because I think that messes with that idea of, like, you aren't quite sure what to believe. I think the only thing I was going to add in there as well is I do feel like in Knives Out, there's a substantial enough flashback, but probably not to the extent as you've said in this one, where they show you things 3 times. So again, and it's quite hard not to say, because you ultimately have to spoil Knives Out to go into that in any depth. So I'm just going to leave that lying there. And anyone who wants to go watch Knives Out, it'll make sense.
Yeah, I think for me, the big difference is the flashbacks. The main flashback happens around about 1 hour 10, and that takes you're away from the island, and there's just like so much to go through and so much to explain and so much they feel like they need to kind of give you, that it's just a bit like, but what's going on the island? Like, I want to go back there. And I feel in that they tried to make it a bit too complex, and then tried to have to explain everything, and then had to check that you understood that, and then had to go, you remembered when we put that thing there, then this is what we're doing now, we're doing this. And we're a bit like, yeah, we've seen the other one. Come on, tell us, get to the bit where it's all good and fun and we can go, oh. And I think that they overcomplicated a little bit and took a little bit of like the first hour that's kind of fun and wild and wacky, and slowed it down and made it a bit kind of overcomplicated. So, yeah.
That is kind of part of what is the structural trickery that Rian Johnson has kind of done with it, where he gives you the kind of bit where they're all trying to like figure the box out at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then when they're trying to figure what a piece of music is, Yo-Yo Ma dips in. Like, the man himself just dips in at a party and is like, this is actually a fugue. And here's the thing about a fugue. And he basically explains how a fugue is a particular tune that you play, but then if you like layer it upon itself, it becomes a new tune. And so that becomes the structural sort of aspect of the film, which is either very clever or just tiresome entirely, depending on like your perspective on it. Because you could be like, oh, that is actually really clever. You get the story, but then you get it again with new information, so everything takes on a new meaning. Or you can go, ugh, like, come on, like, just do the thing, do the Knives Out thing. I personally, I really enjoyed it. I really liked the sort of flashback kind of stuff, and it kind of gave you this extra little, just as a performative thing for Daniel Craig. It kind of gives him this extra bit of excuse to be extra, like Southern polite. Oh gosh, to then him halfway through go, it's a ruse. I'm doing that intentionally just to throw them off. It's kind of just a neat little thing he's allowed to do.
The word buttress makes me laugh when he said like 5 times in that one sentence.
Oh man, it never fails to make me laugh. Just buttress now. Are you buttressed? Oh, like, come on.
I think, yeah, the one thing which I love about this in particular, Benoit Blanc's trying to work out how Miles Bron is doing this or what's going on, and then it just kind of comes to him like, oh, you're stupid. You're a fucking idiot. That's why it all makes sense. And I remember when I was the first time watching it, and he said, let's just all inebriate this moment. I was just like, hold on, is that a word?
Yeah.
And then he did that a few more times, and obviously they pull it out again. And that was annoying that they put the flashback to inebriate when he said it on the beach the first time. And then for that to be like a main kind of untwisting plot point thread that he pulls on to go, actually, no, he doesn't know how to use big words properly, or he makes these words up and they just don't make any sense. And all the things he does are like, actually, when you stop and think about it, they're stupid. And Leslie Odom Jr.'s character says that right at the start when he's in that kind of conference Zoom meeting where he said, I don't know if he's smart or just stupid. He just writes things on a piece of paper and sometimes they become magic, but 99% of the time they're just absolute nonsense and they lead to nothing. And it does all kind of tie together in this really kind of magical and satisfactory way. So I think there's more fun in this one than Knives Out, but the flashbacks do kind of like go, just could you have done it any other way?
I think the bit that always guts me every time is when he solves the fake murder mystery really fast, and he's like, Gillian Flynn wrote this.
She was expensive.
And that's, I always think, because she says it's pronounced Gillian Flynn, and I wonder if that's one of his like malapropisms or things that he just gets wrong on purpose as well for us.
There's also the whole thing about the McCartney guitar as well, in that if it is McCartney's guitar, then he can't play it like that because it's upside down.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's left-handed.
I know, but you can just restring it. That's not the worst thing about it. But a lot of people do...
But the little thingy would be the other way. The little thing that... I don't know what the things are on guitars.
The little thingy?
The little thing that goes behind.
Like the plectrum scratch plate.
Yeah, but that's what... I mean, look at Jimi Hendrix. He just played a right-handed guitar upside down. You could just restring it. It doesn't make any...
Not everyone can be Jimi Hendrix, sir.
But you're talking about Paul McCartney.
And that man was not.
But yeah, you can just turn, like acoustic guitars, if they're just, anyway, we're going on a tangent here, guys. You can just restring it and it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
My one's the Mona Lisa though. And like Paul's had to endure me rant about this before. I genuinely can't watch like old nice things getting destroyed in film, even when I know that's not the real thing. He's not really eating a William Blake and Red Dragon, but it was like that level of like, they've set the Mona Lisa on fire.
But that's the point I was getting at, is that a lot of people take against the Mona Lisa, and you're one of them. But I'm more like angry about him throwing away Paul McCartney's guitar than the Mona Lisa. It's just strange what he kind of... Because for Mona Lisa, I'm like, that's a nice picture, but I genuinely love Blackbird with like all my heart as a song.
But again, it just speaks to the rich tapestry of just what he's willing to take and protect or throw away. He's a child in that kind of stuff. Like, oh, this painting means more to me than anything. I wanna be associated with that. What, this incredibly important guitar that has great relevance to music? Whatever, sure. Anyway, moving on.
I do think that the security system on the Mona Lisa's a really good, like, tension building sound design thing, because it's a horrible noise. And there's times where it happens so frequently that you're just sitting there, it's just getting your back up.
And also the dong noise on the hour as well.
When it happens, it always makes me laugh.
I do know. Go on.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Of course he does.
Of course.
And what's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's tied to Rian Johnson?
He has been in every single one of his films thus far, in some capacity.
Hold on, was he in the Star Wars one?
there's lots of people in Star Wars that like show up that are like, you know, they just put on a helmet.
Stormtrooper. Yeah.
Like Daniel Craig is in Force Awakens.
But not a Rian Johnson film. Okay, is there anything else guys want to say before we head to the scores? Of course, we can keep talking about the film as things come to mind.
I legit think it's one of Edward Norton's best performances.
It's so much fun, isn't it?
I'm not being like ridiculous or silly, but the man is an incredibly talented actor and he's done some amazing stuff. That is legit one of his best performances. He's so much fun and so, god damn, it's just so layered. For it being like rich, just idiot. Great. Great.
I'm Sam Clements, host of the 90 Minutes or Less Film Festival, another podcast in the Stripped Media family, a podcast that celebrates movies under 90 minutes long. Each episode, I'm joined by a special guest who selects a movie to join our prestigious lineup. Past guests have included fellow Stripped Media family members Martin and Sam from Song by Song, and Kobe from Flixwatcher, and Dave from The Wire Stripped. Search for us now on the app you're currently listening to this podcast, or join us at 90minfilmfest.com.
Welcome to the Flixwatcher scores. The scores are always out of 5. You can have decimal places if you wish, and we will start with you, please, Paul, with your recommendability.
For this, I'd say a 4. Again, it's not quite as like maybe good and solid as Knives Out, but I do think it is more fun, so it kind of balances some of that kind of stuff out. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to just watch these very talented, very pretty people just be hams at each other. It's a great time.
Emma.
I'm going to say a 3.5 because if I'm going to recommend one of these films, I'm going to say Knives Out. But I'm kind of hoping by the time there's like a spread of them, because, you know, it's a serial detective. He's going to turn up like 5 more times now. I'm hoping it'll inch up a bit higher.
Have we got guaranteed 5 more times?
Oh no, I'm just throwing a number out there. Like,
got me excited and scared at the same time.
No.
Because it
I'm
can't
just
maintain
out,
that level.
You know, Hercule Poirot got stuck in, so I'm sure Benoit Blanc can.
Helen.
Yeah, I'm also a 4. I was also a little bit miffed that I wasn't going to be watching Knives Out, but then actually I did actually really enjoy it. And while it's probably a bit sillier and like just when they just exploded everything, I was just like, really? Oh, come on. But I didn't mind it. It is just super, super, super fun. So yeah, a 4 from me. And yeah, I agree on Edward Norton. Like, he's having so much fun in this, and yeah, it's a great cast. It's really fun, even if it isn't quite Knives Out.
I'm going to go for 4.8 here. Loses 0.1 because it's not Knives Out, but that's really a slight thing, and loses a bit. I know, because he chucks away Paul McCartney's guitar they wrote Blackbird on. But you know, the brace of films we have so far are great, and I'm going to talk about repeat viewing score in a second, but I can't wait to watch this many more times, and I can't wait to watch the next in the series. And it's easy to watch. It's quite long, but it's super easy to watch. It just barrels along, and it's easy to recommend. So yeah, 4.8. Repeat viewing score, Paul.
You know what? I'll give it a 4 as well. Again, there's always the kind of thing with mystery movies of once you kind of know how it works that you're not necessarily going to be as surprised or invested or whatever as each time. But I do think there's genuinely a lot of fun and a lot of just sort of small things that you can get from rewatching. And as you say, it's so easy to rewatch that it does just kind of flow by. It's a good thing to just put on and just let it happen to you. So yeah, I'll give that a 4.
Emma.
I'm going to go 3.5 again, because it was only my second time watching it since I saw it in the cinema at the time, and I feel like kind of almost the opposite of what Paul's just said, or kind of along the same lines. Like, I feel like once I knew the trick in this one, I was like, all right, that's nice. Whereas with Knives Out, I saw Knives Out twice in 1 week. Like, when it came out, I think with that one, I was trying to like work out more of it. Whereas with this, I was like, oh yeah, that's good. Okay, next.
Helen.
Yeah, so the length is we're nearly at 2.5 hours for this. So it's not one you can just kind of put on, sit back and enjoy, and like a nice 90-minute would be. So that does go against it. But, you know, I got a lot of enjoyment out of it the second time round. Don't know how much more I'm going to watch it. But again, it's one of those ones where the more you watch it, the more like the clues you'll get, and the more you'll be like, oh, yeah, I get that now. Or like maybe you missed something. So I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm going to give this a 5. I will definitely watch it again multiple times. And it's one that my wife and I are like super happy just watching and just enjoying the nonsense and ridiculousness and also insight that's in there. So I'm sure many times in the future we'll do like a Knives Out kind of semi-marathon where you start with the first one and just do one a day or even multiple a day, just watch all the Knives Out films in a series and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, I'll watch it many more times going forward. Small screen score, Paul.
A small screen score. Like some of you, I saw this for the first time on the big screen as well, and I feel like there's not a massive amount of difference. I don't know there's that you'll miss a lot in the sort of transfer from big to small. It's it's good to have a big screen, but I think a small screen does you just as well in terms of what you can sort of enjoy and get from it. So yeah, I'm just going to say a 4. Let's just do 4 across the board.
Emma.
Having seen this in the cinema and watched it at home, and considering the fact that he kind of made, I know that it went to the cinema, but he kind of made it for Netflix, I was kind of fine watching it at home. It didn't really bother me. I wasn't suddenly like, oh man, I wish I felt like I was on that island. And that could only be achieved by watching it in the cinema. So I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Helen.
So the limited release it got at the cinema was far too limited for me to try and make it work. And I think I probably would have seen it had it been on for a little bit longer. But then also I'm a bit like, you guys are like, cinema, doesn't really matter. So I've only seen Knives Out at home, and I've only seen this at home. I don't know, maybe if I'd seen them in the cinema, there'd be a really annoying person sitting behind me going, oh, well, that person's just done that thing, and trying to like work it out or state the obvious at the same time as I'm enjoying it. I don't know. People do that in cinema sometimes. So I don't know. I'm going to give it a 5. I've enjoyed it at home. I enjoyed Knives Out at home. Maybe I'll go to the cinema for the next one. Who knows?
5. So I'm going to go for 4 here because I think I had the best cinema experience out of the people here who saw it in the cinema. I really, really enjoyed it. But the main reason I went to the cinema then was because I didn't want any Twitter nonsense to spoil what happens in it. That was the main driver. But when I was there, it just barreled along. The audience were really engaged. The audience was, getting behind everything that happened. And I think that's for me, that's obviously part of the power of the cinematic experience, not just the on-screen mise-en-scene, it's the people around you. And I guess just don't go to a cinema where people are allowed to give plot points away and natter. Slap them, Helen.
They're not allowed. They're breaking the rules.
Put them in a silent pod, and that's where they sit.
Engagement score. Paul.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump to 4 again. It's good stuff. That's such good. I mean, like there's that sort of thing of like mystery movies. It can feel more easy to kind of let stuff go of like, oh right, well that's that, and so you don't really have to focus on that so much. But there's still a lot you can properly dig into in this, like smaller clues, like the yo-yo ma stuff as an indicator of structure and stuff. Like there's loads of little things you can do for that. But yeah, 4. We'll go with 4.
Emma.
I'm going to give this a 4.5 because while I was rewatching it, my husband came home and he went, "What are you watching?" And I went, "Glass Onion." And he went, "All right," and tried to go about doing what he was doing, and then eventually just like sat on the couch and pulled a blanket up, and he's like, "I'm just going to watch the rest of it." So I do feel like it is one of these films that once it's got you, it's got you. So yeah, as much as it's not Knives Out, it keeps you busy.
Helen.
I'm going 4.5 as well. I think this film is a interesting time capsule as to how quickly you can destroy a social media platform. In that, would you be talking today about like, oh, someone just tweeted, oh, you can't tweet, like, oh. So yeah.
What?
But like, Twitter was vaguely relevant back then, and now it's just not.
So what's your 4.5?
Yeah.
And yeah, just on that, I find there's lots of interesting things to observe. And yeah, I mean, with this, if you're not paying attention, then you're just going to get to the end and go,
yeah,
so what now?
Yeah, I'm going for 4.5 as well. Yeah, it's a murder mystery film, and this type of genre doesn't work if you're just there for a laid-back snooze fest. It just doesn't work that well. And the best ones reward you paying attention. And this is one of the best ones. So, yeah, 4.5. And that gives us an overall score of 4.23750. Decent.
That's a solid score.
Yeah.
If you don't follow us already, we are on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod. Do follow us because we talk about films and Netflix stuff in general. But also, before we go into recording, we ask you guys to give us your opinions on the films we're about to talk about. So look out for a tweet saying something similar to, we're reviewing Glass Onion with Girl of Gotham and Paul Cinephile from Yearbook Podcast. Have you seen it? Tell us your thoughts and your score at 5 stars. Paul, as this is your film, do you want to give us the tweet we had?
Sure. John Loftus got back to us and said, not as good as the original, but an enjoyable romp nevertheless, and Craig is clearly enjoying himself. 3 stars.
It feels like a bit of a blow, the 3 stars, but that's his prerogative.
I mean, yeah, that's people have their own opinions and they can be as wrong as they wish about them. That's fine.
There was that discussion, I remember that discourse as to which you prefer, Glass Onion or Knives Out, and I think Knives Out won, but there were quite a lot of champions for Glass Onion as a preferred one, which is great, which is a great discourse to have, I think. Yeah, Paul, Emma, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much for choosing Glass Onion for us to talk about. Can you say goodbye to listeners and tell us, first of all, before you say goodbye, where we can find you online and your podcast socials and everything like that as well?
Well, if you want to follow along with the podcast socials, we are Yearbook Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to follow or see either of us, Emma is over on Insta. She's got her own thing going on there.
I did a mic drop and left her.
I just set the place on
Take that,
fire.
Elmo.
So, yeah. I am Paul Cinephile, still on Twitter, although not doing much with it, but I'm also on Blue Sky and I'm also on Insta, where Insta's probably the place to best see where the stuff I'm watching. But yeah, thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been great to rewatch and chat about the film as well.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher Podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty tunes and Rockwood Audio's editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.